We hear a lot of perspectives on the Mankind podcast. Inclusion of a guest is not an endorsement of their views, and the opinions expressed here do not always represent the mission or values of the Mankind Project USA.
What if your relationship isn't just you and your partner? What if there's something else there, something alive, something you're both responsible for, a third entity? I certainly wasn't taught to think about relationship in this way. I grew up believing it was me versus them. Today, I sit down with Rich and Laurie Riedman, who've been leaders in couples work for over 30 years and who have guided hundreds of couples through exactly this kind of shift. They teach that every relationship has three parts: you, your partner, and the relationship itself. And when that third place is strong, when that container is solid, it can hold conflict and growth and difference and even pain, because that also comes. When it's weak, everything is personal. Every disagreement is a threat. Every moment of disconnection feels like something is breaking. In this conversation, we explore what it really takes to build that third entity, the relationship, to strengthen it, to care for it, and use it as a place where both you and your partner can grow. We talk about why relationships get harder over time sometimes, what happens when the chemistry fades, and how to move from me versus you into something far more powerful, us working on what's between us, about conscious relationship and real engagement. Welcome to the Mankind Podcast. Hey, everybody, it's Boysen. Welcome back to the Mankind Podcast, the show where we're breaking the molds of modern manhood to prove without a shadow of a doubt that there is more than one way to be a man. And today I get to hang out with a couple of folks, Rich and Laurie Riedman, who have been in the, in the MKP space and women within space and couples work space for like 3 decades. So you think it's impressive when I talk about having been around men's work for 20 years. Here's folks who have been around couples work for 30 years. Rich and Laurie, say hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, absolutely. Love it.
I'm happy to have you guys here. It's been a bit of time coming here. Let me tell you a little bit more about them. Rich and Laurie Riedman have been doing couples work for 30 years and leading a couples weekend, which we're going to be talking quite a bit about, for the past 20 years. They were trained and certified to lead a couples weekend by the founders of the Mankind Project and Women Within, Rich and Char Tosi. They bring to this work techniques and practices from the over 20 relationship workshops they have attended so that you don't have to, including Harville Hendrick, the Gottman Institute, Sue Johnston, EFT, Evia Perakos, Mindful Couples, LoveWorks, Attachment Theory, and many others. Rich has been a leader in men's groups and staffed Mankind Project trainings, the New Warrior Training Adventure, for over 30 years. He's a business owner and a part-time beekeeper. Yes, and I've had Riedman honey. There's a whole other branch. Laurie is a relationship and personal mindfulness coach, a writer, and an author. She's published her memoir, Diamonds in the Dirt, Stories from a Junkyard Girl, and has had essays published in literary journals and anthologies. Rich and Laurie are active in many non-profit organizations in the Rochester community where they live, and they were recently honored by the Rochester Community Foundation for their philanthropic efforts. And that was out in the check-in, our last episode of the newsletter for the Mankind Project. So guys, thank you for being here with me today. Oh, I did the thing. I did the guys thing. Hi, folks. Thank you for being with me. So let's start with, let's start with going way, way back. So you've got 20 years leading a couples weekend and 30 years doing personal growth work.
Mhm.
What was the problem that got you guys into doing couples work?
Let's start with the problem, shall we?
Well,
Well, and originally we would say pointing at each other,
yeah,
which is
Yes.
what most couples do. The problem is with him, and then he would say,
the problems with her. But with most couples, and we've discovered this, when we got to the 7 year, they call the 7 year itch, which is really when they look back at the science, it's really that's when a lot of couples start having issues in the relationship. It's because the phenylethylamine, which pumps into your blood after you fall in love, starts weaning and starts going away. And then the rubber meets the road. So that's where we started having issues of, wait a minute,
"This isn't the person I married."
wow. And Lori started doing her work and she came home and said, I'm doing my work. I think, don't you need to do your work? And I'm like,
He's like, "No, all the
therapy?
problems are
No."
your problems.
So I actually ended up doing the Mankind Project, just found a brochure, did the weekend, came back, and Lori looked at me and said, what did you do this weekend?
And then I think 6 months later, I did one with him. I
And-
had been
Wow.
doing a lot of therapy to heal myself, and so that's kind of how our self discovery work occurred. And then Rich was talking about the phenylethylamine, which is actual chemical that we produce when we're in infatuation or when we're in love. And a fun fact, it's the same chemical that is in chocolate. You'd have to eat a lot of chocolate to get the same levels of when you're in love, but I'm sure a lot of people like myself have tried.
That's wow. So chemistry. So what we're saying is success through chemical replacement theory.
I suppose.
yeah.
I've never heard it. I've never called it that, but I'll have to consider that, Boysen, for the future. Yeah.
Okay, so 7 years. This drops out. We finally look up at each other and say, "Okay, now what?"
Mhm.
So is that where you tend to meet couples in the "Okay, now what"?
No, actually,
Yeah.
sometimes yes, sometimes no. There's basically three categories. Couples have been together. They want, maybe perhaps they've been working on, taking care of the kids, and all of a sudden the kids are out of the house, and then they look at each other and say, "Oh my gosh,
Who are you?
who are you? Wait a minute," and then start looking back and say, gee, am I with the right person? So that's one. Then there's other couples that are open to doing the work, that are new in relationship, and they want to really have a good working relationship. They're willing to look at themselves and just refine what they currently have. They love what they have. They just want to make it even better. And then there's couples that come that are in crisis.
Yeah, we've had people come to the weekend in separate cars.
And then fought about who was going to drive back together. They wanted to drive one car back.
Wow. And so about how many times, let's just establish a baseline here. How many couples weekends have you led?
Well, if you count, we staffed for many years as lead staff. So if you don't even count that, gosh.
Well, it's easier to say. So we've led weekends for 20 years. We're averaging about one a year. And then over the past
we've done 2
4
or 3.
or 5 years, we averaged two a year.
Yeah.
So we've upped the
10.
Yeah. So you figure whatever, 20, 40.
And then we staffed quite a bit with Rich and Shar, because one, who the hell wouldn't? And, they're just so much fun and they're so knowledgeable. And I have memories of laughing so hard with Rich Tosi that I almost peed my pants. So funny. And we just always just had such a joyful time together. So we staffed every time they asked. And, even if they didn't, we'd say, do you need staff? So just so we could be with them.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you listeners out there, and some of you I know by name, some of you I know where you're sitting, some of you I know what your relationships look like or what your marriages look like. I'm talking to you. You may be in one of these three buckets. So now we have a couple in one of these three buckets. Uh, this is awesome. We want to do even better.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, who is this? Or, oh shit, this ship is about to sink.
Mm-hmm.
What are they coming into the couples weekend kind of hoping for? And then what is it that you're saying? Here's what we're going to bring to you.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, let's go back to the philosophy, the values.
Yeah,
Great.
sure. Yeah.
So the
Good place to start.
the philosophy of the weekend is basically that we believe the weekend is there's three entities in a relationship. Each of you and your relationship being a separate entity unto itself.
Mm.
And we believe that having a strong it's essential to have a strong container of the relationship being a container, which because each one of you bring in your past experiences and your past beliefs, and you bring that into the relationship. And if the relationship is strong enough, it can hold that volatility of those differences that are brought together, and the alchemy that's produced from those differences become we each can become better individuals. So we believe the relationship is the quintessential container upon which you can develop and become a better person. So, so that's our philosophy. So we help couples with tools to develop that container, build a strong container, and that the realization is that will help both of them become better individuals and more healthier relationships.
Because who
Nice.
better to help us become all of who we can be than the person that loves us and cares for us? So if you can create a mechanism in your relationship, a strong container that can hold that growth, because we all know that growth is not easy, especially people listening to this podcast know that very
Yes.
well. And that to grow is to change and to transform, and it's not always easy. And then when you have two people trying to do their work, it doesn't align all the time. There may be times when one of you is in a very raw or vulnerable place doing your own work, but it still means you're in a relationship, your partner may still need you, but there's a way within the work that we teach to recognize that, to ask for what you need with kindness and compassion, to perhaps see your partner in those vulnerable times as the vulnerable person and not that they're being too needy or not listening to you or abandoning you. And then being able to, using those tools, recognize that and manage that. Because oftentimes, when we're in difficulty or conflict, it's often because we each have our own needs, but we're not recognizing or can be in a place of curiosity or vulnerability. And it's hard to let someone see you in those places.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I think that reflecting back, even this very first thing can be a stretch if you're really in the shit of your relationship to acknowledge that there is this third thing.
Yeah.
Because when it's hard for me, when it's hard, or when I witness, it's never hard for me. My relationship's perfect.
Could we get your partner on the line?
Yes, I'll call Kendra in and we'll just
I'm
do it
teasing.
right here live. That there is a third thing, because I'm so caught up in my stuff and I'm so caught up in, her stuff and what am I going to do about it? And how am I going to that I can ignore that there's this third entity, that there's this separate thing that we are both committed to, that we are both nurturing, that we are both trying to build and work with. So I think even that's a level of commitment, right? So listeners, do you recognize that there's this third thing that you're actually working on, consciously or unconsciously, in shadow or on purpose, out in the world? Yeah, that's great. what has and then in the work, so okay, now we recognize that here's the philosophy, we recognize that we're going to give tools and teachings. What does it look like to get into it? I mean, I don't know, is it a big mystery like the New Warrior Training Adventure or One Within?
We certainly create a safe container for people to do this work together, and it definitely is not an MKP weekend or a Woman Within weekend for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and so we teach tools and techniques to dealing with everything from anger to setting intention about, setting visioning, like how do you vision your relationship, the future of your relationship, how to, when conflict occurs, teach you tools to work through that conflict. It is an experiential weekend, so there is some places where we try and stretch you for you to look at, but we ask you to look at yourself and what you bring into the relationship, the beliefs that you bring into the relationship, and how that might cause conflict in the relationship.
Or is blocking intimacy in the relationship.
Yeah.
And to own that. And also, we teach listening skills and communication skills. But before that, talking about that third entity, in order for us to truly listen and be heard, and especially if we're sharing something that's very vulnerable, we have to have rules and kind of like safety around that. And so we provide skill training, and we practice it multiple times on the weekend. So hopefully when you go home, you can do this. A method to truly listen to your partner, to truly be able to figure out what is it that I need, and then to ask for it, knowing that your partner may have to say, I don't know if I can do that, but then to negotiate what they can do. Because what you want to do is to be able to meet your partner where they're at and vice versa, but not commit to something that is something you can't do, because then you may be repeating patterns in that person's life. And oftentimes we find, more than likely, couples that come together, there are, I don't know, you want to call cosmic reasons why we found each other. And
Yeah.
often what we find is the one thing that I may need from Rich to heal a part of me, and we use ourselves as an example in the weekend,
Yeah.
was actually the one thing that was very difficult for him to give, because it also is tied to his wound. And there's magic in that. And if we can begin to create safety in the container for us to discover these things and to unravel them together and support each other in that unraveling and filling back up those spaces, then we will continue to do this work. I mean, we've been doing this work. We're going to be married 40 years, and we're always using the tools. We're always learning about each other. I mean, we do not have a pedestal relationship to put us up there. We've just been around the block using these tools for a long time.
Yeah.
And what we hope is that couples on the weekend will come away with new awarenesses, seeing each other. We've had couples that have been married longer than we have and tell us, I didn't know that about my partner.
Yeah, I was going to go there. Rich, what is that like to do you see couples come in who in that process it's like the first time that they've ever gotten conscious about, oh, my
Yes.
partner has been carrying this thing
Right.
for 50 years and I never knew. Yeah, so talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I use the example just recently. We'll just use a story, this sort of humorous story, that we were in Ireland driving, and I was coming very close to the walls, and I almost hit the walls a couple of times.
Well, you do know that in Ireland, the
Opposite
steering
side
wheel's on
and
the other
steering
side,
wheels,
and you're
yes.
driving on the other side of the road. And
Right.
That's context.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the weekend, we do this. We just do some self-discovery on the weekend. And it was funny because Laurie was making some comment about, and I got a big aha, just just the last weekend I got a big aha that I realized that Laurie can criticize anything, like my cooking, anything I do. But if she criticizes anything related to what my dad would say, I get triggered. So I get angry when she makes a comment about my driving, and I say,
and all I was doing was like, "Oh, you're close to that wall." Oh, like, which was information I thought was helpful, Boysen.
So I got triggered
And
immediately. Said, "Well, then maybe you can drive."
He got all sassy.
Yes.
So the self-discovery was, oh my God, if she makes a comment about something my dad would, he make a comment about my driving or painting or doing anything like that, I get triggered.
Yeah.
But then when I realized it just totally took the energy out. So when we were just driving in another country just last week, and she made comments, I was like, oh, thank you. That's good information. I didn't get triggered anymore. But it was not until I discovered that, dug deep to figure out, oh my God, there's no need for me. But I had to own it. I had to own it and what I brought into the relationship.
What you
and
brought.
in doing so, transformed our interaction in that particular
And
case.
for me to
Thank you.
recognize that he wasn't getting that way or getting, annoyed or triggered because it wasn't anything I was really doing, I was able to pause and breathe, when he turns to me and says, well, why don't you drive? I just kind of pause and breathe because I can recognize with the information he shared with me, this isn't about me.
Yeah.
But what I didn't do, which some couples think they need to do, is I didn't turn to him and say, that's really about your dad, How do you think that would have worked, Boysen?
It works really well when I do it. I mean.
So that's another thing we teach on the weekend is, we may have insights into our partner that may be true. How often can someone in your men's group see something that you can't see? When you know someone really well, you see the patterns that maybe we can't see. But what we teach on the workshop and in the coaching that I do is to use curiosity as your guide. If you have information to share, you have to find, what is the T's? The
T's.
We teach this on the weekend.
The 4 T's of communications, which is tone, timing, territory, truth, and time. So I'll explain those. Tone is making sure that when you're communicating something, that you convey safety, you're conveying something, to be aware of your tone, of what your approach. Timing is make sure your partner isn't triggered, make sure your partner can hear you. Okay, territory is very important too. Territory is we
learned this one with our dance that we did.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's an issue,
let's just say, for example,
if there's an issue, you're having some conflict as to frequency of sexual interaction, sex, what you should be aware of, don't bring that up in the bedroom. Okay. Don't bring that up. Discuss that while you're on a walk, or discuss that when you're driving. Something that's non-conflict. Just like if finance is an issue, you don't bring up, put the bill in front of your partner and say, gee, we need to discuss this, or we need to look at how much we're spending here. It's not the time to do it
or after you've gotten the bill and you've freaked out at your partner, like you want to have the right territory, time, and tone.
Right. So make sure the territory is very important. And the last thing is truth, is speak from truth statements, I statements. I'm feeling very angry about blah, 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 and then discuss it. And once again, as Laurie mentioned, curiosity, is a really great guide.
Yes.
So,
and maybe it's important to say, in the context of relationship, an I statement doesn't mean to say, well, I think you're being a jerk.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thanks for clarifying that.
About this. And I just, my wife and I have decided that we should have a big fight, and that's in quotation marks, a big fight about where we park at the gym pretty much every day. So we just get that out as soon as we leave the driveway of our house. We're like, are we going to have a big fight about where we park at the gym today? Yeah, that would be fun. Let's do that. So that by the time we arrive, we've already kind of worked through where we
Right.
like
There you
the
go.
whole thing. Yes.
A good
Driving.
tip there too is when you do have little arguments or things like that, don't try and win.
Yes.
You know,
Great.
instead of it me versus you, it's
Yeah.
us versus the issue.
Good. Say more about that. I think that's a super important thing.
It's a good reframe. It's too often in relationship we point fingers at each other. One, often before we've done our own self-exploration to see what's our part of this. That's why the I statement is kind of important, because I teach in a lot of my coaching mindfulness to take pauses so that you can regulate, and then you can truly be curious without the judgments that are flying. So the us versus, you know, the issue versus you versus me, it's too easy to do you versus me, to see things that way. But when you level it up to what is this conflict really about, and then you're on the same team dealing with it as an issue together.
Yes.
So if parking is an issue, instead of where she thinks you should park or where you think you should park, you just say, hey, parking is a challenge. How could we as a team manage this better?
Nice. That parking is a wonderfully trivial example, and I'll go to a much more difficult one, which I think is true for a lot of couples: money. And I recognize that in my marriage, and if listeners know this, Kendra and I have been married 20 years.
Congratulations.
We're in our 22nd year together and married 20 years. So, and it hasn't been all that many years since we discovered how to work money as something out there that is a problem or a goal, right? The goal setting has really, and thank God for Kendra. Kendra has really brought this in, right? It used to be really easy to blame or get on each other or da 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 da. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this, you're doing that. Now we're like, okay, what's out there? What's out there is what we both want, what we're both committed to, work the problem. And since we've realigned that, and it's again another 3 thing, right? It's like there's me, there's you, there's it.
Right.
And let's work the it.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a good way of reframing. So we're not taking things so personally.
Right.
So-
And there's also, do you want to talk about the other tip? We had some other things that we had put down to make sure we brought is we talk about this. There's a 5-to-1 ratio. Gottman talks about it a lot, which is the 5-to-1 for every, if you happen to have, you need 5 positives to equal 1 negative in terms of interaction. So just to be aware of that on a daily basis, or, you know, to be aware of your interactions, that you're doing those 5 positive things. That might be compliments, that might be giving them acknowledgement. You know, letting them know that you care about them. You know, so it's 5-to-1 for every 5, you know, for a negative. So if there's negative interaction, you need to work even harder to kind of negate that. To negate that.
But part of that is, and we spend a lot of time on the weekend around this, is creating connection. Creating a safe container is to have a solid, safe connection. And we call them rituals, but we try and offer people a variety of ways to stay connected in this busy life that we have.
Good. Do you have a few that you could throw
there's
out there?
So many things. And so research shows that if you can do these 4 things in your relationship, it will be easier for you to handle conflict. You'll be more regulated. You'll be more connected so that when the conflict happens, you can be more curious and you're not automatically going to judgment or self-protection.
Yeah.
And they are,
Yeah.
we've recently been experimenting with this, and it can be scary for some couples. We've introduced this on the weekend we just had. It's called eye gazing.
Okay.
So one of them is to eye gaze at least 4 minutes a day. And you can, the technique they use is left eye to left eye. So you're
Left
not
eye.
always like trying to
Yes.
look at each eyes. And no other agenda. Just breathe together. Set your timer on your phone so you're not looking at it.
And try and be aware of your breathing. Sync up your breathing
It
as well.
can naturally occur, but it's amazing the connection. I mean, what is it? Khalil Gibran said the eyes are the window to the soul.
Yes.
How often in a busy day do you look into your partner's eyes? Even for 30 seconds. So that's one ritual.
Great.
Second one is to have some kind of physical touch, not sexual touch, 4 times in a day. So the way we try and do it is before we wake up in the morning, as long as one of us isn't rushing out, just having a moment of a cuddle in bed. Just maybe it's my leg reaches out to his leg, just some kind of touch. Then before we separate, having a little kiss or just a hug, some kind of that. When we come back, a little connection physically, and then before we go to bed. So those are just 4 times of the day that are pretty easy to incorporate this. If you can do this for more, bonus points. It's because physical touch does so much for our amygdala and for, and of course the love languages, there are people that physical touch isn't their thing. And quite frankly, that was one of our challenges. I'm a victim of sexual abuse, so physical touch has always been difficult for me. I married someone who needed it. So there's no mystery in that. But I've learned the difference between it being sexual touch
Yeah.
and just safety
Connection. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's helped rewire my brain.
Yeah.
So some people will resist it saying, oh, I don't like touching. Well, we'd ask people to be aware of what feelings they have around that and do just try it out.
And and also touch creates oxytocin. So
cuddle hormone, right?
Right. So that's the thing is when you do give each other a hug, have it a longer hug. Like
I think they say 30 seconds. It seems
30
like a
to
long
40,
time. But...
Right. 30, 40 seconds.
20 to 30 seconds. Yes. Yes. Okay. So there's 2: eye gazing, touch.
And the other one is gratitude. So we heard this on a course we took, and it kind of sounds weird, but I think it makes sense. Get a journal that is one journal. It could be something nice you pick up on vacation or you just pick one out. Leave it on your toilet seat down, of course, in your bathroom that you both use.
Yep.
And just once a day, maybe when you're visiting the bathroom, it'll be sitting there and you have to pick it up to use the bathroom. Write one thing of gratitude to your partner in the journal. Close it, close the lid, put it on top. Then when your partner goes in, they just do it once. He puts it in the bathroom because we all visit the bathroom at least once a day.
Because we're all there.
And it's a trigger to remember to do it.
Yes.
I thought that was kind of interesting. If you have another mechanism that works for the two of you, maybe you keep a journal by the coffee maker.
Yep.
Or somewhere in the house that you always visit. And you don't keep tabs. You don't say to your partner, gee, I've written in there 3 times. I haven't seen you write anything. You just do it out of gratitude and share it. And then also read it when you're in there. So that's one thing, gratitude. Some people like to share gratitudes before they go to bed. You can combine that with eye gazing, maybe share something you appreciated about your partner. And we encourage people to find something that's about your partner, not always something they've done.
Great.
We want to recognize their partner being a human being, not
a beingness rather than a doingness. Yes.
Yeah.
And then the
last one was find a couple of times during the week, find at least 2 hours to do something, play together. Either play sit down, and this is not sit down and watch a movie because you're not interacting when you're watching a movie. do something where you're either playing a game or you're going for a walk or you're doing something together. So you're connecting. And it might be, just a small, just take a walk for an
Put
hour
on
or
a
two.
good song and dance in the kitchen. Like,
Right.
Just some type of fun. And then if you have children, this is important because having me time and we
Space.
time, it's important to have we time as a couple. And then I also teach my clients that this is not part of the thing we were just talking about, but I just thought of it. It's important to recognize me and we time in a relationship.
Yeah.
Some couples have difficulty with separating.
Yes.
Individual time. And so recognize the dance, what happens for you when your partner goes to men's group or women's group or goes away or does something for themselves. Oftentimes those little abandonment issues may come up. And
Great.
so recognize the difference, how important it is for all of us to have me time. But it's also important for us to have we time.
There's a great frame. Yeah, there's a great framing in there too. And that's something that, yes, as a guy who's been involved in the Mankind Project for 20 years, that's an issue.
Yes.
That can be an issue. You're going away on a weekend again.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And trying to find ways to, for Kendra, or when Kendra goes away to do, to go to conferences or do whatever. Oh, I get me time in doing this. This is not about her going away and abandoning me. This is about she's going away and I get me time to do something different.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yep. It's, again, reframing it. That's a great example.
Right.
Yeah.
So was there some other things we had? We had some, so go ahead. So the other thing we had is understanding that the whole concept of emotional bid. We find in a relationship
Good.
that I'm not sure if it was Gottman or maybe it was Sue Johnson that mentioned when your partner's reaching out, you're in the car, your partner points out something outside or whatever, that each time you're doing interaction, it's an emotional bid to say, hey, I'm trying to connect, and be aware of when your partner is making an emotional bid for connection, that you're not, you don't respond by ignoring it or scrolling on your phone. So turn towards, not away from the bid.
But oftentimes we don't recognize that we're turning away by what we're doing.
Yes.
Because we're so absorbed in whatever we're doing.
Yes.
So this is a tough dance to change, but I think with awareness, we can change it. And I have found for myself, getting rid of this as often as possible helps.
Yeah. You didn't get to see it. So now I'm going to out that, because I think that's also really something that in the time that you have been doing this work, the entire society has transformed because of these little computers that we all carry around now. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. Like, I had a device that I think I could send character by character text messages when Kendra and I got together, right? On my little Motorola flip phone that I had. But it's so much easier now for all of us, everybody in the family and in my relationship, right? For us to be on this thing rather than with each other. Have you guys had to face that in the work? And what do you do for couples? What do you ask couples to do about that?
Well, one thing that we do now, this is to say you can use, there are apps on your phone that we sometimes recommend. There's also cards and things one of the things a tool that we use is there's apps. And like one we like to use is called the Gottman card deck.
It's also free. That's why we recommend it.
So
cool.
There's lots of other similar applications, but the Gottman card deck, basically what you do is you go on there and it gives you suggestions, inquisitive questions. And it basically, you go through the questions and you ask each other these questions, like, what's your fondest memory of your grandfather? What's your fondest memory
And
of
some of them, like, tell them about
the
the
tree?
tree one. We were practicing this, and I was like, what kind of question is this?
Like, what's your favorite tree?
I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
have a favorite tree.
So
Oh.
mine was a crabapple tree. And Lori goes, why is crabapple tree? And I go, well, because I had a bedroom that oversaw a crabapple tree in the spring. I would always feel, I would always
Beautiful
smell all the
flowers.
fragrant flowers. And she's like, what? And so, and then it came in this whole story. And I remembered all this stuff from my past. And it's really interesting. We do this when we're with couples, with ourselves, when we're on a hike. We'll
Yeah.
go through it, like all these questions, either use the card deck or use the app on your phone. But what it is you're finding information out, you're turning to each other. There's so much more you can remember and you can find out about your part. Be curious, be inquisitive, and you strengthen your relationship. You also share something of yourself with your partner.
And it's
Nice.
crazy
Lovely.
how doing this, it may seem such a simple thing, like asking
Right.
about someone's tree, but before long, if you're truly listening and they're truly sharing, next thing you know, Rich is telling me how, well, what was your bedroom? Oh, it was actually an old porch. And when my sisters all got
Ah.
born, I got regulated to the porch and it was freezing cold in the winter. And I'm like, why did your parents make you sleep on the porch? And then it just went on about how, he was the oldest. And then as every
Ah.
kid was born, he got pushed into this further corner and then just goes into more deeper issues. And I remember
Hmm.
there's another technique we teach on the weekend, but Rich and Shar were demonstrating this at a weekend. And Rich said, well, we decided to practice this thing when we were in a pizzeria. And I go, yeah. And he told this whole story how, yeah, well, I think Shar might have told the story, but Shar said, well, what kind of pizza would you like? And then they did this listening exercise, and before, like, within 5 minutes, Rich is crying in the booth about how no one ever asked him what he wanted. And like,
Wow.
but what happens when
Yeah.
we create these containers and these moments to truly create space for each other, to be wherever we're at and make it okay, whatever response is okay, it's safe here, it's magic what can happen.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to go to so another guy who's been involved in the work for a long time, who facilitated our wedding, Will Flanders. Have you ever met Will Flanders, Rich? I'm
Yeah.
sure you've staffed with Will
Yes, I've
Flanders
staffed with Will many years ago.
many, many years ago. Will Flanders agreed to do our wedding only if we would sit down with him 3 times. And one of the most profound questions he asked, and he turned and looked at me and he said, Boysen, what are you going to do when Kendra becomes her mother? And Kendra, what are you going to do when Boysen becomes his father? So talk about how we bring our parents and those formative relationships into our couples, into our marriages, into our partnerships.
Interesting question.
Well, we do talk about this.
Yeah,
on the
we do.
weekend, yeah.
It's the concept of the imago, which is
Theory.
Harvo Hendricks, and some of the basis of the origination of the weekend was Harvo Hendricks. I mean, some of the
Mechanisms that they built into the weekend.
that Rich and Char. So so we've looked into that, and not looked into that, but we've been inquisitive and been aware of what we both bring into the relationship from our past, and how the concept of projection, we're projecting onto our partners those things, and we ask on the weekend, we actually have a process on the weekend to examine that. What projections do we put on a partner, both from our mother, we put mother and father or primary caregivers,
Right.
onto our partner, and being aware of that. So the exercise allows couples to each of them to become aware of the projections that we put onto our
It's an
partner.
imaging exercise that can get very deep very quickly, and it's designed for us to come to awareness of some things that maybe we weren't even aware. That was an interesting question to be asked, because often we're not even aware that I'm becoming someone's mother or father, and vice versa. But
Yeah.
we're products of the environment we grew up in. And some of those things are cultural.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of couples that have come from different countries, different cultures. And so we need to embrace this as part of what they bring into the container, right?
Yeah.
And be aware of what we bring into the container. Um, when we talk about the container, we talk about it in the weekend. We use a Mexican wedding vase as an example.
Uh-huh.
You've seen
Yes.
those,
So
right?
describe what that looks like.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Well, a Mexican wedding vase, the shaman would create one for a couple getting married as part of their ceremony, and it would be specially made for them. And for those of you that may not be familiar with one, it basically, you might have seen them. They have like, it's a container, but it has two different spouts that come out of the bigger container in the middle. And so the idea is it represents just what we were talking about, all those things that from our childhood, our parents, the belief systems from culture and from our family and from the trauma or any experience that we have had. Each of us bring those things into this relationship. And so the Mexican wedding vase is a wonderful symbol that we each, I guess in the ceremony, they each drink out of each side.
Ah,
But once we agree to be connected with this person, we're agreeing to be connected with all of that.
all of them. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Very
And
nice.
so instead of looking at it as bad, look at it as what can come from this? What can be created? This alchemy, this combustion, that's transformation, that's change. So,
Yes.
what can come out of this in this relationship? And so, it's just a wonderful symbol and a good mechanism for mother, father, culture, belief systems, because often we don't have the same beliefs. I mean, you talked
Yeah.
about money.
Yeah. How
That
we
can
were
be a
raised.
big one for couples.
For sure. I'm going to circle into, you both come from backgrounds where this kind of internal work, shadow work, personal development work is kind of baked in to who you are as beings. And I'm just going to say there may be some Mankind Project brothers out there who have never done personal work in their relationship and who've never done personal work with the woman who they love the most in the world. How's
Or
that look?
man,
Or the man that
or
who they
man
love
they
and
love.
their
Yes.
partner. Yes.
Mhm.
How's that look for a guy who maybe has been sitting in a circle and has gotten used to a certain thing to then come into a container that's mixed in a very different way with very different dynamics and do personal work?
I think that question's for you, honey.
That's definitely for
Yeah.
Rich. He's, yeah.
Oh, thank you. So it was a challenge initially doing that, stepping into a container that contains, I had mother issues.
Mm,
I'll be upfront with you. I had a strong mother, strong mother, grandmother, such. And so my issues with mother issues, and coming into that container with other women, it can be frightening. But as they always say, face the fear. And by
mm,
facing my fear, I was able to overcome that and transition. And I'd strongly encourage any man that, if they're feeling some trepidation about being in the container with uh, women versus being in a container with just men.
You're talking about on the weekend.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
coming to a couples weekend is
Yeah.
to face the fear, as they always say. Face the roar. Go towards the roar. The story of the lions and
Yes.
going towards the roar. which is where you could, transition. So I strongly encourage any man that might be listening to consider doing a couples weekend, because there's real clarity. Good friend of mine, Mike Elzer, as you know,
Yes.
Is continually tells me, Rich, if you want to do deep work, do your couples work.
There you go.
'Cause-
And
there's we all carry these different energies, right? We all carry vulnerability, feminine, earth mother, caring, love, open,
all of us. Yes.
Compassion, kindness, and we carry protection, warrior, defense, action, initiation, and so on the weekend we bring in those energies into the weekend to play, and we invite people to recognize where in your relationship who is the initiator and who is receiving or following, and what happens if you mix that up, and to recognize we all have these energies within us.
Yes.
And so to recognize, I've not obviously been in a men's circle. I've done work in a gender circle, which I found incredibly challenging and rewarding. But I think that's important to recognize it's not just about men and women gender. It's recognizing we all have these energies in us, and to recognize how can they serve us better? How can we dance between them? And who better to do that with than your partner? I think.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You can work on that. I can work on stuff in my women's circle. He can work on things with his men's circle. I can work on things with my therapist, my coach.
Yep.
There's different places where discovery opens up because of where you are. So I can bring the same issue to my women's circle than I can bring to a couple's circle and get different information.
Yes.
And just so you know, after the couples weekend, we've had numerous encouraged couples circles to be created. And there's numerous couples circles around the US where couples now get together after they've done to continue to practice those tools.
And support each other.
And support each other, right. So.
Boy, how could things look different if we had more couples out there getting together in community and sharing vulnerably? I mean, that's a whole other thing. So we've got this little relationship and me and you in our relationship, but imagine our relationship in relationships.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We say every weekend we do Boysen. It is like pulling teeth to get people to come. And I understand it's logistics. I mean, it's hard enough for one person in a busy life to take a weekend away. It's really hard for two people, especially if they have family or whatever, to take a weekend away. Logistically, I understand. But there's also a lot of other barriers to doing this work together. And every weekend we turn to each other at the end and we go, and everyone in the room says the same thing. There should be so many more people here doing this work. How different our world would be if we could have these skills. And, I do relationship coaching, and, I do love encouraging people to do this kind of work together.
Yes. So you guys have you are not the only couples weekend teachers. And so talk a little bit about what's coming up in the short term and kind of what it looks like. How can folks get involved?
So if they check out, we're an affiliate, MKP affiliated training.
Yes.
It's on the website. And then we have a separate link called A Couples Weekend, which lists all the couples weekend. There's three other couples besides ourselves
that are blessed to do this.
They're blessed to facilitate this work across the country. Down in the South, we basically are in the Northeast. We do travel quite a bit. And then there's a couple in Colorado and then one in Chicago. So we're spread around, and we do numerous weekends per year that we lead. And basically, if couples are interested in doing a weekend, for instance, we're doing one at the end of July 31st to August 2nd. Actually, the Carolinas community, it's going to be an MKP actually sponsored training that we're going to be doing. I believe there's another one in Colorado at the same weekend.
And there's one in Texas coming up.
Right, one in Texas. So just check out the website, A Couples Weekend. Check out for all the list of couples. And then if you're someplace in the community that's interested in hosting the couples weekend, we've had communities call us and say, hey, we're interested in doing a couples weekend. If there's enough, say 5 to 10, actually more like 7 to 10 couples that you can encourage to do the weekend,
we'll come.
We'll come.
Yeah, we went to California. We've done a couple in Canada. The North Carolina weekend is because people asked us to come. And the other facilitators will do something similar as well.
Right. Because we want to spread this. We're really passionate about doing this. It's our mission, our couple's mission, and each of ours mission to do more of these weekends. Because if we can make the world a better place and with healthier relationships, great. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I do relationship coaching. So sometimes people don't want to do a weekend, or they would prefer to do it like on a regular basis. That's always an option. And we do VIP weekends. So if someone really just wanted to do this work just with their partner, we would make arrangements to do a personal weekend with a couple. And so there's many ways to do the work. And therapists, actually, we've gotten referrals from therapists because, we're not therapists.
Yes.
This is deep work. And what they find is that it helps move along couples therapy, because when you've done the weekend, most of the time people come away with greater awareness and ownership over their belief or their issue that's blocking intimacy, or a pattern that's coming up, and they can bring that to therapy and move things along. So the awarenesses that are gained on the weekend, you can use and to continue to work on your relationship. We've had people do the weekend more than once, because every time,
it's always
every
another
year
level.
We become different. Our relationship changes.
We become more aware of our beliefs, as we've said, and we continue to do work on our relationship.
Like different stages of life, like retirement, or the kids have gone, or having kids. Those are all good times to retake a look.
Wonderful. And for a lot of our listeners out there, the perimenopause kind of time of life is a big relationship shift for a lot of men and women. It impacts us both. Yes. So it's Rich and Laurie Riedman, acouplesweekend.com. Go and check them out. Thank you.
My website's bucoach.com.
bucoach.com. Thank you for hanging out with me and talking about a couples weekend.
Thank you for having us. It's been a joy.
It's always a pleasure.
This has been the Mankind Podcast, produced in association with the Mankind Project USA. And of course, I want to thank you, the listener, because through your attention and your support, you make it a heck of a lot easier for us to let men out there in the world know that they are not alone and that there is more than one way to be a man. And if you've been enjoying the music throughout this episode and all of our episodes, check out Jim Donovan and the Sun King Warriors. I have links to them in the show notes. Now, the fee for this episode is simple. If you found gold and insights that you believe could benefit your loved ones and those you care about, be sure to share it with them. And of course, remember that life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us, so long as we rip the pen out of fate's hand and become the author of our own story. So my friend, pick up the pen and we'll see you next week. Lots of love.
Hey, it's Boysen. On the Mankind Podcast, we've brought some incredible guests on to talk about the importance of doing the work to improve our mental and emotional health. And here's the truth. Multiple times over the last 25 years, I've had the help of one-on-one work with some amazing therapists. For me, for my wife, for both of us as adoptive parents, and for our kids. The Mankind Project and Men's Group, though awesome, are not a substitute for professional mental health support. And so I'm thrilled that the Mankind Podcast now has BetterHelp as a sponsor for the show. BetterHelp works online. It asks you what you're working on and then matches you for live one-on-one sessions with a licensed therapist, someone trained to work with you, listen, and offer helpful insights. I'm using BetterHelp. It's super easy, and I like what I'm getting. If getting one-on-one support in the comfort of your own space feels like a good direction for you, I invite you to check it out. Go to the link in the show notes or betterhelp.com/mankind. And if you sign up, you'll get 10% off your first month of therapy.